Very excited that you could be here with us. This is really a special webinar series that we are excited to share with the community during this unprecedented time that we're living in right now, with so many people facing so many challenges with their career and with their finance. We at the JCC Workforce Program really wanted to try to do as much as we can to be there for the community. Our program is here every day of the year to help people with jobs, with career counseling. And now during COVID-19, we really put together a special program. We have a very talented staff and team that could work with anyone, whether they're going into the job market or they lost a job and they're looking for help to get back into the job market. We have career counseling, resume writing assistance, and job placement assistance to help people. So please reach out to us at any time at our email address. Now, together with our regular daily services that we have, we are pleased to have this special partnership with COL where we're doing for the next 2 weeks. We're going to be having webinars every night at 9 o'clock, different careers that are going to be explored and different career skills to help you get the skills you need to land that job, whether it's a new job or if it's to grow in your job. We're actually, just as a note, we're launching courses. And so you could reach out to us. We have special training courses coming up. Please reach out to us. Everything is free of service and so free of charge. Tonight, I'm honored to welcome Ben-Sion. Please, if you could show your, show your video. Yes, I'm honored to welcome Ben-Sion Siegel. Ben-Sion is a valued member of our staff. He is a veteran career counselor. He's somebody who's been working in the workforce for many, many years, and he's been trained in career counseling. He has many years of skill of working with people and helping them to figure out their aptitude and their life's mission as it relates to the workplace. And he's a skilled resume writer, and he's on our staff. We help people write resumes for free, and he has a special methodology which he's going to be sharing with you tonight to help you write a great resume. So he's going to share. Without further ado, I'm going to fade into the background. Ben-Sion is going to share his wisdom. And 20-minute presentation followed by a Q&A session. So if all of you have questions, please, we're going to have a special time for that. If you need to send any messages, I'll be monitoring the chat box. And so without further ado, Ben-Sion, the floor is yours. Please feel free to.
Hey, do you want to pull up my PowerPoints or you want me to do that?
No, you do it. You go ahead. You take control and share your PowerPoint.
Yeah, we do that. Second. Oh.
Just hit share and you should.
1 second. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, good evening, everybody. Good to be here. So tonight we're talking about resumes, and resume is an important topic. It really is your marketing piece. It's your marketing piece to help you get in the door for a job. It can't get you the job, but at least it can get you in the door, and that's really important. So you really want to be thoughtful in how you create your resume and put some time in and put kind of your best presentation of yourself in the resume. So it's worth it to spend a little time, some quality time to put a good resume together. So we're going to just talk about some basics in building a resume. Probably geared for many who don't have a resume. If you have a resume already, you might find this more of a review, but we'll take some questions in the end. It's probably much shorter than 20 minutes, but we'll try to hit the highlights to truly help you build a good resume. So let's just start from the top. Let's see. Okay, first idea though is that there really is not one way to create a resume. There's many ways to create a resume, which is good. It gives you a lot of latitude to create it the way you want and use creativity. But there are some components that all resumes across the board use. So we'll go over those components. If I was going to give you a rule of thumb on resumes, this is a big one. You really want it to be clear and concise and to the point. You want it so that a recruiter or a hiring manager can look at this piece of paper or look at it online and just know pretty quickly, who you are, a positive, impression of who you are, and get a good sense of you, quickly. It's clear and concise. You want it to be crisp. So you don't want to overload it with too much information. You just want like the right amount to make it, very informative for the other party. Of course, it's very important that you don't have typos and spelling errors. You don't want to lose credibility early on when you're putting your resume in. So you want to make sure when you do create your resume, have a few people take a look at it so you don't miss any typos or spelling errors. If you can, try to keep your resume to 1 page. If you've been in the workforce for a while, you have a lot of experience, 2 pages is fine, and that's expected. Again, recruiters will expect 2 pages if you've been working for a long time. But for those of you working in 1, 2, 3 years, try to keep it to 1 page. I look at a lot of people's resumes and I see people early on their career with 2 pages of stuff. The key word here is, making it, making sure it's targeting what you want, what you want in terms of your target. So there are a lot of things we put on that don't need to be there. The key word is relevant. So think about that. If you need 2 pages, fine, but try to keep it to 1. Some of the traditional fonts are Calibri, Arial, Times Roman. If you use a resume template online, they tend to use other templates, some funky ones, which is fine also. That'll help you stand out. But these are the traditional ones people use when they create their resume. You can create a resume on Microsoft Word or on Google Docs. And as I said, all resumes have certain basic components. So, from there, you can play with it a little bit, but you want to have your basic components. So what are those? So number 1, at the top, you've got your contact information. It's your name, phone number, email address. And you want to make sure this is really clear there because you want to make it easy for people to call you and contact you or email you. In 2020, a lot of people are not putting their home address anymore. They used to do more of it. You can, it's really up to you. A lot of people will actually put their LinkedIn profile address, which we would recommend also. So that's kind of the top. Below that's a summary or objective. And, I have 2 asterisks there as I do below also, which means to say you don't have to have a summary or objective, but we'd recommend it in most cases to have it. And I'm going to differentiate a little bit what the difference is between the 2. Experience is the main part of your resume. So you want to spend a good amount of time, putting together your experience. We're using a chronological approach to resumes. You're going to put your most recent experience at the top. Below experience is education, and we'll talk about that. And below that is skills. Again, 2 asterisks because you don't have to have skills. However, in 2020, I'm using the most recent philosophy. Skills is a really important section. So you want to make sure you really have a skills section. People are really looking at that, trying to match up, job descriptions to people's skills. So you really do want to have a skills section, even though you don't need it, and some skills sections aren't around. But more and more people are using it, so you really should have it. Okay, so those are really kind of the components that you'll find in any resume. So let's look at a sample resume. So if you could see the top, this jumps a little bit, hold on. My arrow jumps. Okay, but look at the top, you see where it says Chris Jones, it's a little bit blocked there. But that's your contact information. And again, you don't have to put it in that order, but there they have phone number, email address. This guy, Chris, is using his home address. Again, it's really your call. I know when we work with local jobs, in Borough Park and Crown Heights and Williamsburg, with a lot of the local companies, they may want to see that you live close by. So it may not be a bad idea to put your home address, but it's really your call. A lot of people are just putting, let's say, Brooklyn, New York. But in addition, there to the right, you can put your LinkedIn profile, assuming you have one. If you don't, we would recommend that you set up a LinkedIn account. Below that is career objective. Again, it's an objective or a summary. This guy wrote, licensed certified public accountant with over 6 years of experience, member of the ICPA, seeking to apply diverse accounting administrative knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. This actually looks more like a summary. It's a little bit of a combination of both. But either way, it's a really good snapshot of this person. So, it looks good. So we would recommend, if you can, I'm going to differentiate in a moment between objectives and summaries, but we would recommend in most cases to have something there because it gives a really good, quick picture of you and of your accomplishments a little bit. So below that is your experience. And as I said, we're doing more of a chronological resume approach. This is actually a very traditional format. Let me see if I can use my arrow without things jumping. Okay. So you can see it starts with the name of the company, the name of the organization. Next to it is the location. And next to that is the time you're there. This is a very traditional format that I happen to like, but you don't have to do it this way. You'll see some online resumes do not, but it's a good way to at least get yourself going. So you have then September 2011 to the present this person has. Now there's a question that comes up whether people need to put months on or just years. This is a little bit of a debate. The truth is human resource people like to see months on your resumes. If you have a lot of experience, people then just tend to put years. If you're early on in your career, months probably makes more sense. So we'll kind of leave that to you. So then right below the organization you see is the title, supervising account. So you want the title right below that. And then this is where you get into the heart of your resume. And again, you want to spend time really doing some brainstorming for the position or job that you're in or we're at. And what you really want to think about is, what is a major accomplishment you had? And ideally, if you can quantify it, that is best. Like this bullet pointed here, manage multiple client accounts totaling over $75 million. So this is one of Chris's major accomplishments, and he's able to quantify it. If you can do that, great. There's a lot of times when we're trying to, think of our jobs, and it's very hard to come up with big accomplishments and quantifying it. So if you're having trouble with that, then try to at least think of some of your major accomplishments. And if you can't think of major accomplishments, at the very least, think of just main things you did in your position. So that's kind of your order. Again, this is going to take some time for you to brainstorm a little bit, the positions that you've had. What really did you do? What were some of the major things, the major parts of your position, of your job? So again, if you could think of major accomplishments quantified best, at least major accomplishments, if not, just some of the main things you've done. So, I mean, you could see this, this keeps jumping on me. He still has, conduct and oversee periodic financial audits. So that's just, a main thing that the person did. So that's fine also. In addition, you want to start each of your bullet points with an action verb, and they should all be kind of parallel the way this person has it: maintain, conduct, coordinate, develop, manage. So you can Google actually all kinds of action verbs to start your bullet points. And that's, again, this is kind of the traditional way of approaching your resume. Right below that, you can see Stedman. His next position is the same, Stedman and Stedman in Ithaca, New York, and he has the months and the years there, has the position of accountant. And below that, he could see he's got a few things accomplished. He's quantified, like the fourth bullet point, managed stock portfolio worth over $35 million, increasing returns by 5%. Again, those are the best kind of things. They do impress recruiters, hiring managers, but a lot of times it's difficult to come up with those. So that's something you can spend some time thinking about. So, and as I said, it's a chronological approach. So his most recent position is at the top there. Question that comes up though, what about people that do not have any job experience? And that happens. I mean, you might be right out of school. We work with people who are out of Kollel. So in that case, instead of saying professional experience or experience, you can actually put volunteer experience, and try to think of anything that you've done, that you volunteered, that can give you a little bit of experience, something you can write up. And I've worked with people who've come from Kollel. I had one example of a person who said he did some fundraising for a dinner for his Kollel. So, if that's the case, use the same format. Name of the Kollel, Brooklyn, New York, did it in 2019. Maybe we'll call you a fundraising assistant, and a bullet point you could say is, called on potential donors to help, for the dinner, et cetera, et cetera. Try to come up with 2 or 3 bullet points, and then you have a little bit of experience. Again, by saying on the top volunteer experience, it's being more specific, as to, it's not a paying job, but it's life work experience. Perhaps you worked, you helped in a nursing home, or you helped in a hospital, somebody that did some volunteer work in a library. Again, if you're right out of school, out of Colo, maybe you're out of high school, maybe it's your first job, then you want to try to come up with something, and we try to help people come up with that. In addition, though, if it is your first job, some people will actually take their education section, that's the third down here, and actually pull it up above their professional experience, because they're going to just stress another part of where they're at in their life. But traditionally, the education is in kind of that fourth slot there. Let's go to education now. Again, spend good time on that experience section. On the education section, it certainly doesn't have to be in that order. Again, if you're not coming from college, you can put the name of a Kollel and say Brooklyn, New York. If you want to say the year, you can. If you're coming from high school, but you're coming from a yeshiva high school or Mesivta, you can say the name of it. If you got a diploma, great, put a diploma there. Obviously, if you went to college and have a degree, then put the name of the college and the name of your bachelor's degree, and you could also put the year. That's up to you. You can also put online courses you may have taken. In addition, we've run some classes through like the Borough Park JCC. If you took an Amazon class with us, you can put that also in education. You do just want to definitely show something there for education. Not so strict in terms of how you lay it out, but just make sure you have something there. Last section there is skills. And as I said, skills section is taking on a really important significance these days. A lot of people are really looking at skills section. So I'll talk a little bit more about that and differentiate between different types of skills. But you can see this person has QuickBooks and Microsoft Advanced Excel. So you want to, really do an inventory of all your skills. Think about all the skills you may have used in prior jobs. Again, if you haven't worked before, you might have some skills just from school or from some volunteer work. So we'll talk more about skills, but let's talk a little bit more about objective versus summary. So you can see on the left side, the objective is, as an example, seeking a sales position where I can utilize my retail sales experience and help a company increase profits. This is somebody who wants to target a particular type of position. This person knows they want a sales position, so they're targeting. So it turns out, in 2020, again, in resume philosophy or the latest, what's in vogue, more people are using summaries. Summaries are much more popular today. The objective used to be more popular. Less people are using it, and the recommendation is to use it less. But the objective can still be used, and definitely should be used in certain situations. So just to come back to the summary, experience retail management, person, you could read the whole thing. I'm actually blocking it here. But it summarizes and it gives you a really good picture of who you are, which is why I think it's much more popular now, because for people who are in a hurry, recruiters, they read the summary and they quickly get a good sense of who you are. It sells you pretty well. But there are people who don't have the experience to summarize. So in that case, again, if you're new to the job world, then you might want to use an objective. As soon as you know what you want to do. If somebody knows they want to go in sales, then putting an objective and saying, I'm looking to go into sales is perfectly legitimate, and I think very helpful, because it'll help the employer understand what you're looking to do, what you're targeting. If you are new to the workforce and you don't know what you want to do, then you can't really use summary or objective. Leave it blank, and that's perfectly fine also. You can leave that area blank, and we do that every so often with people. But in most cases, you want to have an objective or a summary. I guess your first choice is, if you have some experience, to come up with a good summary paragraph, which I think is being blocked here. But try to come up with something that will give a good picture, a good snapshot of who you are. So just to talk a little bit about skills again, so differentiate between two kinds of skills. You have hard skills and soft skills. You can think of hard skills, here's examples here like QuickBooks and payroll software data. These are skills that are really specific to the job. And they tend to be related to IT or software related, or could be accounting related. See if I can just lower this 1 second. Okay. Soft skills are exactly what they are. They're highly organized, good listener, team player, can manage people, good people skills, all kinds of things like that. And it's important to have both. What's really important though is if you can take a look at a job description, look at a job you really would like to get involved in, you'd like to apply for. If you see that they're looking for QuickBooks and QuickBooks and you have QuickBooks, then make sure you get that in your skills section. Obviously, you have to be truthful. So, but if you're targeting a certain job and you can see on the description that QuickBooks is important to the job, make sure it's on your resume in your among the hard skills in one section of skills. Here's some other examples of hard skills versus soft skills. You can take a look here on the left side, Microsoft Office, Adobe, Creative Suite, coding. It looks like a lot of them are IT related or accounting related. It doesn't have to be, it really is job related. I mean, you could be a chef going for a job as a chef, and a hard skill could be ingredient selection or something. So it really is based on what the particular job is. And then obviously there's a lot of soft skills. I mean, I would say that, employers for the most part are a little more into the hard skills. They're looking for somebody, again, if somebody knows QuickBooks, that's very important to them, but not to discount soft skills. Soft skills are very important also, especially with bigger companies. Bigger companies are looking at people, coming in to see if they can deal with people well. Are they, can they manage people? There might be a matrix situation, a larger company. So they're going to need good interpersonal skills, good influence skills, getting the job done. So soft skills are important too. So hard skills maybe edge it out a little bit, but make sure you have soft skills. So think about, obviously the hard skills are easier to inventory as to things you've done, but soft skills, really think about which skills you've used over time, which come naturally for you, which you think you're pretty good at. And if you can even think about situations, let's say in former jobs where you used it, that'll help also for your interviews and for thinking through, talking points for interviews. So again, skills are an important section these days. Now, where do you put your skills section? So you have a choice here. For example, if you're an IT person, a lot of IT people put their skills section up there at the top. Why? Because it's so important. The languages they know, the software they know, they're trying to advertise that right up front. And I work with some IT people, and I've seen IT people's resumes. It's pretty frequent that people are going to put that on top, and it does make sense because that's a little bit like your advertisement for the latest things that you may know. However, you could see the person on the right side, has very good skills, and they kept numbers on the bottom, and that's totally fine. That looks good too. So you have an option as to where you want to place your skills section. So, again, just to go back, this kind of just gives us the components, for the resume. Again, the top is that contact information. Make sure that, it's really clear. You make it really easy for people to contact you. That's like just step one. Again, think of either an objective or a summary to give that snapshot of who you are. Spend some good time on your the crux to the resume of your accomplishments. Again, if you can quantify it, and education, and we just mentioned the skills section. So just kind of polishing up your resume a little bit. They have a stat online. I think it's about 8 seconds that a recruiter looks at a resume. I think in general, most people look at a resume 15 to 20 seconds, which is why it is so important that that top third of your resume look good. So that top third from, you know, your contact information through probably your first job being shown chronologically, you want that to be really crisp and clear, give a really good picture of who you are. So again, that hiring manager or a recruiter like quickly gets a really good positive picture of you in a concise way and in a quick way. So again, because it goes so fast, that top third's important. Now, in terms of bigger companies, probably Fortune like 1,000 companies, certainly Fortune 500, if you're thinking of applying more to those types of companies also, most of them have these ATSs, which many people I think are familiar with, applicant tracking systems. And they, you know, because they're looking at hundreds of resumes, so they're really using software to really filter out all the resumes. So that, you know, that software really will take the recruiter, hiring manager's job description and then really, you know, use algorithms and parse through people's resumes. So it's really important that if you see a job description online that you like, and you see some prominent words that are repeated a lot, try to get that onto your resume. Again, only assuming that you can, you know, you have it, you know, obviously you have to be truthful, but if there are certain things that they're repeating a lot, you know, like accounts payable, for example, make sure you've got accounts payable and you can have it on your resume a few times. You could have, you know, again, if you have that experience, you could have it in your experience section and or you can have it in your skills section. You can have it a few times. That will up your chances for the software to stop your resume and let the recruiter take a look at it. And I've seen this, I've experienced this. I'm not so you know, up on the actual software, but you know, it's pretty commonly used. So the other thing is, based on that, you definitely might want to have a few versions of your resume. And forget about the ATS, just in general, if you're working with our team and we're in touch with a business locally in Brooklyn, and we have a pretty good job description and they know that, you know, they need QuickBooks, you know, you're going to want to make sure you have QuickBooks in your skills section. It's the same idea. Yes.
How many minutes left to the presentation?
I'm almost done, like 2 more slides. Am I there?
Yeah, I'm officially, you don't have to, it's not a hard stop, but we're really officially at the end of our time. So
this is perfect, exactly it. Okay, so this was it. So again, just to give you you know, a roundup of the resume. Again, that's kind of the sample we looked at. Now, since we've all been home and I've been working with people, you know, over the telephone, to get them going just in a really simple way, I send them this just so they get a format. And it's the same format. I'm just making it very simple. I'm stripping it down just to let people, you know, start building it out and working on it.
So anyone that's watching right now and would like to get a sample resume from us to start working on, please email us, workforce@jccgci.org, workforce@jccgci. We'll be happy to send this to you. And of course, we're happy to schedule some time for you to speak with Vinci and to work on this.
My last slide, and then we're done. And so
so we're going to do some Q&A after your
Q&A. Okay. Yes. One quick word on online, you know, online resumes. You know, this is Zeddy. I don't recommend you using online unless you want to. It's really your call, but most of them cost money, so you're kind of at your own risk. But they can make some nice resumes. They can make some very creative looking resumes like this one. So I just want to throw that out. It's your call. I've seen some good ones, but it could cost money. You want to make sure that you're kind of going in the right way, you know, in terms of how they're charging, but they can make it a lot easier. And one last slide is this. And so here's in summary, here's our bottom line. Try to make your resume easy to read, really crisp and clear. Make sure you proofread it and have maybe some friends proofread it. As much as you can, try to relate it to a specific job description. And that's it, you know. And then I just say bottom line, you know, resume is very important. It'll get you in the door. But in the end, you know, you've got the interview. The interview will get you the job. So be working on the interviews soon. Are we wordy? Yes.
Yes. Okay. So let's do some Q&A. So I myself had a question for you because I didn't hear you mention it. What about, and let's try to keep it brief because we really overdid our time. What about cover letters? Do you hold of those?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Okay, so believe it or not, I mean, a couple of others are still happening in 2020. I'm not really covering it here, but again, it's probably where, you know, that'd be probably another class, but yeah, cover letters is something to keep in mind. I mean, at the very least, you can do that through an email. And you also want to make it, you know, succinct and advertise yourself. It kind of is in the same category as thank you notes after after an interview.
Right. That being said, I actually heard a wonderful advice. I think maybe you might have said it to somebody, that after you after you send in the resume and after you have the interview, you send them a thank you letter to let them to thank them for giving you the opportunity, and that actually impresses them.
Always send a thank you. Yeah, try to always send one. It's another reminder of who you are, because they're, you know, bombarded with people. It shows goodwill. It shows you're interested. They want to see you're interested. You know, it's like a dance. So yes.
Okay. Now there was a question that was posted here by one of the people watching. And for those of you watching live, if you send an email to workforce@bpjcc, we'll respond to your we'll respond to your question. So a question that was asked, you know, for rabbinical degrees, a lot of people in this community went through yeshiva with their smicha. So, you know, when you send away to all these professional companies, do you put it, or if yes, how do you post it to make it look like something?
It's really, you know, it's really a great question. And I was just actually working with somebody this week on that who had a rabbinical. So I would say, I don't think there's a definitive answer. I think what you want to do is have some variations of your resume. I think you certainly want a resume that shows your rabbinic degrees, your smicha. First of all, it's impressive, and it depends who you're sending it to. It could be, if you're sending it to a more local employer, you'll have that in common with somebody who went to the same place and got smicha or something. So it really depends. If you're sending it to a large corporation, it's a toss-up. You know, I think I would just have different variations of your resume. I don't want to give a definitive answer on it, but I mean, it's definitely, you know, a degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this has really been a wonderful presentation, Ben-Sion. You really know how to present so articulately and so clearly, and I hope everyone that's been watching this has enjoyed it. Again, we're here year-round to help people, and especially now during this time, we've put together a program to try to help everybody, whether you're getting into the market or you lost a job and you need some guidance and you want some help to you know, during this time, take the opportunity to brush up on your resume and get yourself ready. All of our staff are available to meet with you virtually. We're also going to be launching some virtual courses. And this is a series. Tonight is night number 2. We have a whole series every night, 9 o'clock. We have different job skills and different industries that we're going to be exploring, especially tomorrow night. Very exciting. We're having SEO marketing, which is you know, how your websites get to rank on Google. When you do a search, which ones show up first has to do with SEO marketing. We're having an expert SEO marketer talk about the industry, how you get into it, what it's like, what are the financial opportunities there. And so we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, right here on COL. And I want to wish you all have a wonderful evening. And Baracha v'hatzlacha.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, have a good night. All the best.